Not quite a quorum yet, but I know that Bob Brixis will be here. So we'll continue on as if we are. Public comments. Public. Not quite a quorum yet, but I know that Bob Brixis will be here. So we'll continue on as if we are.
Fill some time while Bob. I'm Brian Dalton. I represent the liaison with the Downtown Association. And as you all know, you build things and we make them lively and artful. So I think there's a great connection between this group and the DDA. In addition to the events and programs that we work on, like Art and Wine Walk and so on, I'd like to give you some ideas about what's relevant that we're doing to your work. And the first one is that we're with you on the bank project it's important, it's coming up. But we're forming an ad hoc task force to give you the advice or help that you'd like to see from the public on that particular project. We're planning a public reception and celebration for the Dallas Cinema's designation as a historic landmark, probably a street party of some kind. We don't have the date yet, but it should be a real nice event. Next, we're orchestrating right now about $350,000 worth of improvement grants downtown, unrelated to the city. These are from outside folks that we hope we can get. And of course, that leverages dollars, local dollars, because those dollars will probably be matched 1-for-1 or better by property owners and other grants. We're working on a couple of murals down there at the 100 block of Southeast Mill inside of the cinema and restaurant there. Finally, we're studying the uses of upper stories here to bring more liveliness to the second stories of second stories of your buildings. And we're in the early stages of that. We think there'll be some state money to help us out on some of those projects. The very last thing, we're seeing some real interest in quality developments and process in 100 and 200 blocks of Southwest Washington Street. I think you're well familiar with that area. They're both the blocks are both within your urban renewal district, but for some reason they were excluded from consideration for any kind of streetscape work. In fact, in the 2004 original plan, it deliberately left them off. Let me read, so we'll all be singing from the same hymnal, what that actual plan reads. And it says specific public improvement projects that may be undertaken under the plan include, and they have a number of them, and number 5 is Washington Street. Washington Street improvements. Washington Street streetscape improvement will extend from Main Street to Jefferson Street, creating a gateway at the south entrance to downtown. Curb extensions, landscapes, medians, infill street trees, and pedestrian-oriented lighting will be used to create a visually appealing and welcoming atmosphere that draws pedestrians to the area and strengthens connection to downtown. You'll note that that does not include the western blocks of Washington Street. Considering that these two blocks were methodically excluded from the plan for streetscape work, it probably doesn't come as a surprise that in essence they're the most blighted blocks in the district. Some of the characteristics of those two blocks include 3 abandoned gas stations, a long vacant derelict commercial building painted pink, broken down chain link fences, 3 vacant lots, broken sidewalks, no benches, and almost no street trees to soften that up. And given the scarcity of land for development, redevelopment in downtown, those blocks become particularly appealing because they have vacant lots, empty buildings, and broken down vehicles and so forth that could be repurposed to some significant development. And so they're prime targets actually for help, and there are people interested in building down there, and they're very serious. These are quality projects, and the more that you can help them with streetscape work to make things look good down there, the more anxious they will be to build down there and give you a better quality product. There's lots more to say about this, but I just like to ask you to consider asking the agency, which is you're the advisory to the agency, to extend the Washington Street improvements down to 11th Street. That's the edge of your URD boundary. And these are two very important blocks, and probably the next two blocks you want to focus your attention on. This is really a small but vital ask, I think, for for you to make to urban renewal. And I believe it's a sound strategy in the short term to ask for them to extend that. And in the longer term, when you all are receiving money again in a couple of years, you'll have some money to tackle those projects, plus the strategy to implement that. Thanks. And if you have any questions, let me know.
I do have a question.
I do too.
When did the plan extend to the south side of Washington Street or just the north side?
Yeah, it just says Washington Street between Jefferson and Main, so it's probably both sides. It doesn't talk about anything west of Main Street on
So it doesn't talk about Washington over to Jefferson.
It goes to Jefferson.
Jefferson.
And it usually, when it had a boundary, it means both sides unless it's not in the district. And there's some boundaries where the
I don't remember.
boundary line is the middle of the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've not doing any work there. The trees there's no trees, sidewalks, broken, you know it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that should be your next target, I think. But in order to get it to be your next target, you really have to change your strategy and I think that's an easy fix.
Brian, I have a question too. So you referenced that there's people that are wanting to develop down there. And so I'm assuming that you've had conversations with people. Are those people who own properties or those people who are wanting to
I'm
purchase?
sorry, say that a little louder for me.
Are those people, the people that you referenced that are wanting to do projects
Yes.
in that area, are those people that own the properties or those people that are looking to buy properties and they'll just happen to
Rita
be
Grigg
possible?
is the main one, and she owns or is negotiating first right of refusal on a lot of those properties or some of the properties. She's negotiating for even more of the properties in that area. She built that $2.3 million veterans housing facility right in that area, and she intends to extend the quality type projects like that toward the east ideally on both sides if she could get a hold of properties.
Those are Polk CDC projects,
Both
right?
CDC projects, yeah, and they're pretty well funded as a rule. She's
They are,
got a
those
$7
are,
million project going up in
those would be
North Dallas.
projects that would be taking properties off the tax rolls though too, right?
No, her intent is to keep them on the tax rolls.
Okay.
Find ways.
I talked with her and she said got some plans to use the first floor as commercial, which would leave it on property taxes, although the upper stories, and she was thinking 5 stories will be low housing, would come under the housing urban renewal program, which does take on tax rolls, but the first floor would be taxable, which I think is a great idea. I want to make an adjustment to Washington Street. Washington Street halfway, between Jefferson and Sheldon, going west to 11th Street on the south side and mid-block on the north side of Jefferson. So it runs from just a half block west of Sheldon, half a block north of 11th Street, including both sides, except for that one section on where the housing is, where the veterans housing is on Jefferson Street.
I don't think it's in your district.
The housing is not
Yeah,
in the district.
it is
But
not.
But the Center Street Market and the property to the west and adjacent to it is in our district.
Correct.
So you're talking about the old Lee Wright service station on the corner of Church and Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are in the
That
district,
is
but they're not
In the district.
they're not authorized for streetscape work
Okay.
by what the 2004 plan says.
But I think that you brought up a good point. When we do have funds available to us, that was probably one of the areas that we want to look at.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Everybody had an opportunity to look over the minutes. Are there any corrections or adjustments that anybody has found? You'll hear a motion to accept the consent agenda
Motion to approve.
Second.
and motion. Sam and second by Cory. Any conversation, any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, I guess we're going right to Charlie now. Are you ready?
Sure thing.
You got good news for us, right?
Well, I got news. I don't think I got any good news. Yeah, speaking of news, you have a bit of a press release in front of you that was just issued today on the latest round of ARPA projects. So that's good news, I think. We're funding 9 projects in the downtown, so that's a good thing. Let's see, so let's talk about the bank property. We still don't own it, so that's something new there, but we're getting closer, as I've said before. An agent from with a broker and an environmental consultant that we hired were on site yesterday along with our facilities foreman to kind of go through the building again. So we're revising our phase 1 ESA. And then we've been told that it should close in the next week or two, but it's the first time I've been told that specific, so we'll see. I guess that's good news. And we're in the process of applying for a $60,000 brownfield development technical assistance grant, which will help offset some of the early stage environmental work to include the hazardous building material assessment and potential mitigation when we get to the point of actually tearing the building down. That's about it on that. Again, our ARPA projects, the last years are still in the process winding up. You know, we've completed 3. There's 2 underway. 2 have not started, and we added a new one which already got finished. So we've basically allocated the entire $100,000 from the 2022 round. And the 2023 round, as I mentioned, is the press release you should have in front of you, those 9 projects. The council last night voted unanimously to put another $8,000 in the pot so we could fully fund all 9 of the projects at their asking price, basically. So everybody got what they asked for.
Question?
Yep.
Everybody have a question? Can you do us a favor, or at least me a favor, on your properties where you have the address?
Mhm.
Could you include maybe the name of the business?
Well, some of them have business names, some of them don't.
Well, maybe go by the old business name.
So you're talking about the ARPA grants?
Yeah. Like
So
1042.
if you're curious, I can certainly run through them for you right
Well,
now.
No, just in the future. It would be nice to have
Okay.
that, so we know which.
Yeah, but some,
For us old
sure.
folks, we can kind of identify where.
Sure.
the village is
So
at.
which one's Foster Sporting Goods?
Oh, was that west or east of town?
It's
by the-
close to one of these.
by the old oak tree.
One of them is.
But see, like, you know where Guy's Hardware was?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's-
I don't know if any of these would
That's
fall
one of,
under that.
that's one of them. That's
That's
seven-
exactly what,
that's 742
Yeah.
Main.
that would help. That would be a good help.
Well, yeah,
My
but
father-in-law used to be part owner of that.
Okay.
That business.
well, there's lots of historic names associated with particular
Yeah.
properties. It just depends on how far back in history you want to go.
Oh, wait, especially for Ken. Ken can go way.
I can go way back, but I can't remember.
Well, if I told you ADOS building, you know exactly what I'm talking.
Yep.
Um,
Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry to. interrupt.
Sure. So to get to a question that you asked a moment ago, Sam, of Mr. Dalton. If you go to the last page, I guess it is. One of the projects we actually have spoken with, not Rita's, but an actual local owner that owns property at 233 Southwest Washington. That owner is interested in a multi-story mixed-use project at that site.
The vacant lot there.
That's the pink gas station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's a pretty exciting project. I wish we had some funding to really make a dent in partnering with that developer. But as you know, we really don't. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to be a partner with that project or not.
It's a southwest corner of Church in Washington.
Correct.
Big
Yeah. Mhm.
old gas station there.
Correct, yeah. So the owner of that property is interested in, wiping wiping that clean and building a new building, that site with
Are there still underground storage tanks there?
I don't know. Probably, unless
I
they've
remember the
taken. out.
concrete ever getting torn
Yeah.
up.
I don't
either.
So
I don't
they
either.
Still are.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. So it's
They
probably,
they closed down back in, before
Yeah.
I moved to town back in the 70s.
Unless they're leaking, as long as you don't disturb the soil around them, it doesn't, it's
Yeah, but-
it's okay.
well, it was Lee Wright Station, then he moved to the North Dallas intersection.
Yeah.
So anyway, I
think
just
it-
wanted
I
to,
think it closed before I moved to town here back in the 70s.
That's been closed a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
so we're pretty excited about that. That could be a really impactful project and something that the downtown could really use. And it's also one of the three sites that, this body had recognized for studying a few years back. There was that site, the bank property site, and the vacant lot over here on the corner of Main. So it looks like there's actually some activity going to happen at all three of those sites, which is good. So
It's encouraging.
yeah, it is very encouraging. I'm excited about that. Jumping back just a bit because I skipped down. If you've noticed over here in front of 168, 172 Southwest Court, we're ripping out the sidewalk and the street trees over there and replacing those same infrastructure. So we entered into a development agreement with that property owner. So the city's doing all the demo work and the property owner is going to pay to put everything back.
Oh, okay.
Those sidewalks are in bad shape. Those trees are in bad shape.
Yeah,
So it'll look really nice.
and
And
they're
that,
conforming to the standard streetscape then.
and that property owner is gonna, do something with that building. So that whole little area will look
So
much
the
better than it does.
Curb
now.
line's gonna stay where the curb is
Mhm.
are now.
Yeah, it's not
'Cause that
changing the
street's
curb.
really narrow.
Yeah, in fact, I don't think they're messing with the curb at all, just
Okay.
between the curb and the building.
Make
Um,
it tall because they'll drive over it and get the trees when they go to the bar.
Well, you ever try driving down that street with big pickups parked there? It's hard
Yeah,
to be a two-way
so it
street.
makes you slow down. It's called traffic calming. The last bullet there is, after our last meeting, there was discussion about the possibility of, as it was mentioned in the plan, as we went through the plan about undergrounding utilities. I've contacted Pacific Power. They're working on something to get back to me, so we'll see.
Give us some round number.
Well, the challenge is, is like, it's like, what's the scope, and that's the part, I tried to be as, give it my best guess of what the scope is. I mean, I'm hoping they can give like a per block cost or a per lineal
Yeah.
foot cost or something. And then we can kind of work from that. So we'll see what we get back. And I think that was all I really had. We've heard rumors, but nothing definitive from the property owner, but I'll make a note of actually reaching out to them since they haven't reached out to us, is with the Wells Fargo building from the county. The word on the street is that they're going to put it back on the market. But I have not been told that
Oh,
from
the county
them.
is not gonna move forward with that.
That's what I've heard.
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it, but no confirmation on that. But I've heard it from multiple people, so usually it's a sign of either a really good rumor or the truth, one or the other. I'll get to the bottom of it. Let's figure that out.
Anybody else have questions for Charlie? This would be a very short meeting. Thank you.
Yep.
Next thing on the agenda is chair comments. I have none. I'm glad everybody showed up. That's it, about the only comment I have. Member comments, anybody have anything that they'd like to bring up at this point? You guys are making this too easy. Other business?
Is there anything that you want to see next month? Anything you want to see next month?
Yeah, I'd like to see a building on the corner.
Charlie, actually,
Still in Maine, but I know that's not gonna happen.
Maybe an update on the Dallas City Cleaners building.
Okay, so that is one of the ARPA projects, actually, that's the one that's, 144 Southwest Washington. They do the restrooms.
And another thing too might be helpful is to have a meeting with Rita Grady, and when she has some architectural
Okay.
conceptual drawings for the property there on Washington and Church. I've asked her if she could bring me into that conversation as well. But,
Yeah, maybe she could even come to the meeting and.
yeah,
I've
I've invited her, so she
Okay.
knows she's welcome to attend.
Good, yeah. that'd be good.
Charlie, I noticed that in the alley on the 900 block between Main and Church,
Mhm.
somebody has painted one-way arrows in the street.
Over here,
Yeah, I just noticed that this morning myself.
Because most of the alleys, not all of them, but most of the alleys through downtown are all one way to the north. One of the
Yes.
concerns I've long thought over is why that is, because that makes blind exits on every one of the alleys onto the sidewalks where you're more likely to hit pedestrians. I'm wondering if there's a possibility that for a long time, I wondered if there's a possibility to turn those around and make them one way to the south rather than to the north, because it would make them all safer, pretty much.
The reason we did that, I remember the conversation, is that the traffic on Main Street is one way south, so the alleys would be one way north. So they wouldn't have to circle the entire block to go a different direction.
I mean, I guess that would make sense if you wanted your alleys to be travel ways, but they're more business
Well,
access, but
that's what it was back then.
yeah.
And I don't know if they wanted people to access on the Washington Street. From the alley.
Seems safer than exiting through those two buildings. Particularly now that we have two schools in between there where we got little kids walking up and down the street all the time. But there's still blind exits one way or the other. And it's also the same way when you exit off of Court Street, or not Court Street, Mill Street. But I'm wondering if there's any possibility of looking at that. I don't know who painted those or why.
well, those were painted, and there should have been the do not enter sign and one-way sign placed out on Church, because those were missing.
Okay.
And,
The do not enter sign's been there. Oh, no, okay, never mind. It's do not.
yeah, there should be a do not enter or one-way.
Oh, there was a do not enter on the other side, but not on the Church. Yeah.
Yeah, on the Mill Street side, there's.
Or on Washington, there was too. Yeah.
So that was requested after the school to have that alley better delineated, because there was two-way traffic occurring and it was causing some issues.
Yeah.
So that's why it recently got painted and why the site
Okay.
back. The site just went missing.
Okay.
apparently. It went back onto the site, somebody's bedroom, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could look into that. I'm sure there's been some thought about why it goes. Maybe it's, as the mayor said, maybe that was the rush.
Mhm.
Well, either way, it has to be one way, because there's no.
I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if that
Two
falls
lanes to
under,
get through.
does that fall under our jurisdiction, or would it fall under the city's jurisdiction?
Well, this is a public works traffic issue.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
not gonna
so
fall under.
It would need to be
Yeah.
a city issue that could be brought up before the city council. Is what I'm getting at.
Well, I'd probably go through the Public Works Committee, council,
Yeah.
what's the name of the committee? There's a
Building and grounds,
building and grounds committee,
public works.
probably just go through there, I would imagine.
And there's a committee for that too, right? Yeah, there is a committee for the, so that might be a good place to go
Yeah,
to discuss that.
Well, I know there was an issue about traffic pulling from the alley onto Washington Street. They kept hitting the building, trucks did. So they put in a post there to hit the post before you hit the building.
I had a friend of mine who got hit. He was parked on Washington Street and somebody came out the wrong way on the alley and took out the back of his car. Anyway, I guess moving right along.
I just have something really quick since you asked. As far as like context, I don't know, it'd be nice to probably get an update. Like Public Works to see, you know, as we get into street construction season, if there's improvements like citywide, how those touch the district. ODOT, are they doing anything to Maine or any other improvements? And then also as the new renewal area gets going, be nice to, I don't know, like an annual update or something.
that certainly is gonna happen, it's gonna be a while, but yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Has anybody made any kind of impact study on the roundabout on Park Corner Road and Highway 99, if that'll have any impact on Dallas or traffic or anything like that
You mean during the construction or afterwards?
during the construction, maybe even
I don't
after?
know, that'd be an ODOT question, that's.
Well, that would be a good one to have ODOT maybe involved in.
I don't think there'd be any impact. It's not gonna change the number of cars.
Sorry,
It won't change the number of cars turning there.
no, it's just gonna slow things down.
It's
Back
how
up,
much
there'll
there-
be backup traffic on Highway 99.
Well, how about going out in Cloud Corner?
Yeah, well, that's the one I'm talking about.
Well, you talking about 223 or?
No, Cloud Corner.
Yeah, well, that battle's already been lost.
Yeah, we lost that one, didn't we?
Well, you know, if ODOT were here, they would say it's gonna make it a safer intersection. Won't have
Well,
collisions there. that you'll have.
Hoffman is really safe. It's safer than it was before they put the traffic light up. And that's all they would have to do on Cloud Corner to put the traffic light up. It'd been a lot less expensive. But that's not my decision. Anything else under other business? Our next meeting will be May 2nd. Ben, I sent you an email, right?
Yeah, that's July.
July, we're looking at possibly changing the meeting. In July, because the meeting in July would be on the 4th. And I don't know if anybody will be out of town, but we typically don't do meetings on national holidays, so,
No, we definitely won't have a meeting on the floor.
yeah.
It'll probably, if it's gonna be moved, it'd be moved to the 5th or Wednesday.
Either the 5th or the following Tuesday. I'm gonna be out of town until,
Or you can just
They-
postpone it a month.
The challenge with the following Tuesday is it would conflict with our planning commission. The planning commission on that Tuesday.
yeah,
So that wouldn't be a good option.
or we could, depending upon where we're, what our status is at that time, we might be able to just drop that month. But we'll see where we're at, because
Yeah, we can,
I hope that we're gonna get real busy by then and we'll need to meet.
yeah, I would suggest see where we are in June. We'll go from there.
So May 2nd is our next meeting, and unless anybody has anything else. $30.
A new record.
Related to the 4th, when will fireworks go back to the 4th instead of Veterans Day?